Welcome to the vlog. My name's Toby. Got a slight frog in my throat, so let's see if we get through this without me coughing. One of the toughest things in all our working lives is to find the balance between the many good things that happen and the things that happen that are just not okay, that make you wonder why you're doing what you do and the work and the contribution that you make. I'm sharing that personally, but I would imagine every single person listening to this has that same dilemma. So today I'm going to talk about 4 or 5 incredibly positive things that are happening in and around our organization. But I'm also going to ask us to look in the mirror at some really difficult and unacceptable things that are happening right here inside Hardash. Not trying to trade 4 off against 1. We've got to hold the balance of those experiences. And right at the end, I'll advertise the next set of open staff meetings where I'm sure we will try and find that balance as well if you have a chance to come along at the end of October. Just this week, we had our latest healthcare support workers conference celebrating the professional contribution healthcare support workers right across the organisation, working in therapy disciplines, in community settings, and in our wards, in physical health and children's services, in adult and older adult mental health services. 2 things really struck me from that conference. The first is a set of conversations I had about waiting times, and I reflect with a smile because they were good and they were difficult conversations, and shout out to the staff who voiced this. We started with a conversation about the hard work that comes from what they said was my 4-week target. Now, I hope by the end of our conversation, we got to a point where we were all incredibly proud of the work that has been done in that department across this organisation to reduce waiting times, to reduce nights of worry, to reduce the concern staff feel at not being able to meet someone's needs, to get to this remarkable measure of 4 weeks. But part of the way we have that conversation is to reflect on, well, what can we do to work smarter, not harder? What are the administrative burdens, the duplicate entry of information, the handwritten management of diaries, the inefficient use of technology, the things that get in the way of a clinical consultation? What are the things we can do to remove those frustrations, to enable people who dedicate their working lives to seeing patients to truly see those patients and to spend time on exactly that? Not sure we've always got the balance right. I'll tell you this, getting to 4 weeks is not the point. Staying there is the point. Sustaining that success, keeping that precious achievement going, that is what is so important. 48 of our services, as you know, are there already, and there are dozens more that will come to that achievement come Christmas time. And our work is then to sustain that NHS leading position. The other thing from the Healthcare Support Workers Conference I wanted to draw attention to is this. Part of Promise 8 is the work we're doing to make sure that the working teams we have and the working environments we have are truly suitable for the sensory needs and the diversity of the patients we look after. And particularly for our healthcare support workers who in a mental health ward represent 80% of the patient contact time that we will have, to make sure that those colleagues are trained to understand, to be effective in working with people who might have autism or ADHD. That feels so important to have made that start. So thank you to Jude Graham, to Steve Forsyth, to many others, including Vicky Hughes, for starting that journey. And most importantly, thank you to our healthcare support workers for embracing this fantastic opportunity. Talking of embracing opportunities, you may remember that in October 2025, we said we would reach 350 volunteers. Because I'm a trained NHS manager in my spare time, I didn't say when in October 2025, and I'm still not done it, but it's coming very, very soon. We're well on our way to 350. What that means in practice, whether we're talking about a volunteering dog called Otis, or whether we're talking about many people from all backgrounds now volunteering in our organisation, we're not only going to get to 350 volunteers, we're not only going to listen to volunteers talk about moving into careers, which for some of them is the right way to go, but we're also starting to see volunteering in so many teams, in so many places, all across Ardash. When we publish Trust Matters in October, you'll be able to read a dozen or more stories, not only from volunteers, but from line managers and from people working alongside volunteers who will seek to get across to you what volunteering is meaning in our organisation. And we'll have a conversation as a trust board in the early part of next year about how we make sure we're able to be volunteering inside our local communities as well. This has to be a reciprocal process of learning and of volunteering, not just our time, but to coin a phrase from my friend Andy Knox, volunteering our love into a variety of places where we can make a real difference. So thank you to everyone who has worked so hard to bring us to that position on Promise 3. And the evaluation we will do in the early part of 2026 will talk about what we're learning and how we keep it going. Now, I've touched on some promises that feel to me as if they are coming to fruition. But you know that this week we held an open staff meeting to talk about the hostile environment in which we are living and to talk about racism in our organisation. You may not know that at the Leaders' Conference on Tuesday, we did exactly the same. We heard 7 voices of staff who've experienced staff-on-staff racism in our organisation. We looked at the 50 racist incidents reported in radar, often patient-on-patient or patient-on-staff over the last little while. And we reflected on the 38 times that we've considered using a red or yellow card under our acceptable behaviour policy, and the reality that only one red card has been issued over the course of the last year. I'm throwing numbers at you. This isn't about numbers. This is about the life experiences that my colleagues and I have listened to. From nurses who come from overseas to work in our wards in North Lincolnshire, in Rotherham, in Doncaster, from colleagues who are third generation in Yorkshire and North Lincolnshire and grew up perhaps in a Pakistani origin family or a Turkish family or a Black British family coming over with the Windrush. Listening to the experiences, some positive and affirming, but I've got to be straight with you, some truly shocking examples of microaggression, of exclusion, of racism, and of the arrogance that says, we can keep doing this to you because nothing will be done. Let's be incredibly clear, whatever the past has been, I cannot tell you when, but this organisation will get to a point where to treat somebody that way, to diminish them, to bring detriment to their lives, for speaking up, for reflecting on unacceptable behaviour, we will reach a point where in this organisation that no longer happens. We will change processes, we will change education, but to be clear, we will change people too. It has to stop, and if hearing that message is uncomfortable to you, please reflect, please get in touch, because it is going to stop. We cannot carry on like this in this organisation and then turn around and say we will be an anti-racist organisation. If you think there is no racism in Ardash, next learning half day, go for a long walk around this organisation and approach people from a global majority and maybe have a conversation about what it's like to walk in their shoes. I am going to end on a positive, and that's the balance I talked to at the beginning of this vlog. I had over 65 quality improvement posters. The world's greatest vlog filming cameraman, Tim Buckle, won one of those prizes for his incredible poster on flu vaccination. That was through the popular vote. But the judging panel I spoke to you about before, when we launched this contest in February, our first annual contest, they awarded 3 prizes. One to a reducing restricted intervention study grounded in Rotherham, which we considered to be the best of all the studies that we submitted. A second to a Survive to Thrive study on the 4-week wait and quality improvement in children's services that Roberta Radcliffe Burns has spoken so powerfully to in a different context. She wasn't the poster's author. Emily and her team were. And finally, and this is where the big bugs come in, the continuous monitoring glucose study in the service of diabetes in our physical health service at £1 to £5,000. I wonder if by now, given that we gave Kate Ashworth the cheque on Tuesday, she's already got it out the door, or she and her colleagues are still considering how best to invest that prize. What a wonderful tribute to the innovation and the ingenuity of this organisation. What a way to look forward to next year, when I'm confident we will have more than 100 prizes. 100 prizes, 100 posters, and still the same big prize that Kate and the team have just received. So look out for these open staff meetings. Please reflect on all the positive things I've said. But if you think I keep banging on about racism, you haven't heard anything yet. We're going to keep banging on about this until the rhythm we hear in this organisation is consistent with Promise 26. Thank you.